It's the Indie Horror Junkie Podcast, your source for anything and everything indie horror. Here's your host, Otis B. Dreads.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah.
There he is.
What the heck happened to my camera?
Peekaboo to you, Rick Danford.
I know. I love stuff that happens right as you're, getting ready to go live. So
I was like, there's no Otis and there's just me and where's Rick? But we're live and we're here. And you know what? I feel like it's been a long time since I've been on the show. I've missed you guys. We had the hurricane, which we all survived, thank God. For those of you who don't know, our show is based in Central Florida in Tampa. So everything you saw going on there, we were feeling. So we were without power, we were without sanity, but we made it. And then I was gone last week. I was filming and, Rick took over. So thank God for that. But we're back. We have some amazing guests tonight. Stat Academy, we're going to get into that. But first, we've got a lot of housekeeping, right, Rick? What do we got going on? We've got...
you catch up and I'll throw
the
this.
magazine. We just wrapped it up today. We have been pounding out this issue. Look at the cover. We have Stream. You guys know it. You love it. You've seen it. From Fuzz on the Lens, the creative minds behind the Terrifier franchise. We are so excited to cover them. We have so many familiar faces in this film. We have Love Dogs, Blue Murder, Killer Grannies, Human Hibachi 3. We have tons of other actors, writers, producers, creatives in this magazine. It's 40 issues, our second largest issue. Yeah, so this drops on November the 13th, and we have it both digital and print. It's available for pre-order now, so get yours. And then because we're insane, we have two other back-to-back issues, December and January. So Rick and I will start working on those tomorrow. We have the beautiful Marjorie Joseph in issue number 12. She is our indie horror hottie. She's been in The End. She has done tons of stage and theater work. She's an incredible actress, but we have the pleasure of working with her in our upcoming horror zombie film that we go into production for in less than 2 weeks, The Turning. So you'll see more of her in that. But we love Marjorie. We have an amazing article all about her and who she is as an artist and a creative, and what she does in the community as well. So what else we got going on, Rick? What am I missing? We have the submissions still open for the film festival, our Indie Horror Junkie Film Festival, which takes place in February at MegaCon Orlando. You don't want to miss that. So if you have a feature film, a short film that is in the indie horror genre, definitely hit us up. It's a huge event. Over 200,000 people are going to be there. They've already started making their guest announcements. So don't miss that.
We also have this little movie we made called The Clock that just hit the streaming services.
Yeah.
So if you definitely get a chance, it's right now. It's on Prime Video. It's on Vudu. It's coming on Chilling over the next couple of days. And I'm even told that it should be hitting Tubi here shortly. So definitely take a look at it. If you get to see it, definitely give us a review. And hopefully you enjoy it. But we're very proud of that movie. We jumped through a lot of hoops and called in a lot of favors to get that done. But that was a blast.
Yeah, we filmed that feature in 5 days. So if you didn't think we were already crazy, there's another perfect example of how insane we actually are. But we got it done like we always do, and we're excited to actually get it out there. We filmed this last year. We're so thankful to Bayview Entertainment for distributing that film for us. They are wonderful to work with, and we're excited for you guys to finally get to watch it. So take a peek.
Absolutely. Now, why don't you tell them a little bit about the guests that we got coming up, and I'll show these images. And then
we've got Stat Academy, you guys. They are a band out of Central Florida. They are making a wave. They came out with their conceptual debut album last year. We had them on the show. Earlier this year, we had them on the show. And now we're going to follow up with them and see what they've been up to, where they've been playing, what they have next. Next Sunday, November the 10th, they have their hometown headliner concert, also a live recording of the show. That's going to be at the Conduit, and that's in Winter Park, Florida. So just outside of Orlando. They're going to be playing along with Young Fiction and Allura. Those are the opening acts. I have seen both these bands. They are incredible. Stat Academy puts on a killer show. Lots of stage performances from these guys. And we're going to get into, the logistics of that. But we're excited to have them back. They have a lot to share with us. So let's get into their little video and bring them on.
Tell us about this video. What exactly is it we're going to see here real quick?
So these are the guys in action. This is some clips from the shows that they've been currently doing across Central Florida. They've played at various locations, some venues they've been, this is not their first time playing at the Conduit, but this is their big headliner show. So they've played all over from, Orlando, Winter Park, north, south of that, just covering Central Florida. The plan is to extend that across the state and then, hop on a bigger tour and take it elsewhere. So they've got big plans. They're working on their second album, and we're going to get into all that.
All right. So here's the video of them in action, and then we're going to bring on Zach and Dylan, and we will go from there. So check this out. Hey.
Welcome
to the show, guys.
Watching that, I'm like, damn, there was a lot of shows that you guys have played since you dropped the album. Like, it's just been so busy. You kind of, when you're so close to it, you forget how busy it is. But looking at all that, it's like you guys have been doing the thing. So let's get into it. What's going on November the 10th? Let's start off with your hometown headliner concert.
It's such an amazing milestone moment.
You sound really low.
Oh, I've turned your volume up. Now, there you go.
Yeah, you're good. Right off the gate, we're doing great.
Welcome to live.
You should do what we do. Yeah, you're good.
It's one of those shows that I haven't really wrapped my head around yet. It's so crazy when we go through each season kind of like setting goals. And I remember one of the big things we said last December was come January, we were going to get into the Conduit, because there are these venues here in Central Florida that are the really competitive venues to get into. There's so many bands doing
almost like a rite of passage as a band.
For sure.
In the area.
And we were just wanting to get our music in there. And literally me and Dylan, along with other venues too, like we drove to the Conduit just to meet anyone, to talk to anybody who could potentially connect us with an opportunity to play there. And the first time we played there, we were the second band on the bill on like a Tuesday night, and we were just happy to be in the room. And then the second time we were there, which was a few months ago, we were the first band on the bill of like 5 bands, but again, we were just happy to be there. And now in less than a year, we get to headline the place on a Sunday night, and just like we get to do it. It's so crazy and it's so exciting, and it just it feels like a true testament to all of the work that we've been drilling into this. It's so nuts.
And let's plug your 2 opening acts, Young Fiction and Allura. We have seen these bands play. They're both incredible, whole different vibes altogether, but just to have them on the bill is really exciting as well. You guys want to talk a little bit about them and the shows that you played with them before?
Yeah, the thing that when we have the opportunity to put the shows on ourselves, because a lot of the shows we play are, through promoters, and, you get the offers, and, you're like I said, you're happy just to network and get to be a part of, an event that someone else has put together. But when it's our event and we get to bring in, different sounds, I get asked a lot if who we're looking for is someone to necessarily fit exactly within our sound. And that really has nothing to do with it. It's just I'm so interested in other people's art and other people's lens that they and how they use their brush to create their portrait. And Allura is a fairly new band. They just started playing this year. We played a show with them in Sanford And that was at Sanford Brewing Company. Is that where that
No,
was?
that was
Where
a
was it?
West End Trading Co.
West
West
End
End, yeah.
Trading Company.
Yeah.
That's right. And we I just remember them going on and being like, man, I've never seen these folks before, and they just blew my mind. I thought they were so musical. Their musicality was crazy, and the fact that they were so new to it um, was just so exciting. I was like, I can't wait to see what they're going to be capable of creating over time. And Young Fiction is honestly just one of my favorite local bands that we've been able to not only watch play, but this will be our third time playing with them. That we've done 2 different shows with them, and they're so good it makes me mad. And it's one of those things where like I remember the first time I saw them play and I was like, you guys are fucking crazy. And they're just
They're
such a
fun to
great
watch.
they are a such a great appetizer, you know. And I was like, you know, and I would also 100% pay to watch a headlining show of theirs because I know they would kill it. So I'm such a
Either of those
fan.
bands, yeah. The fact that all
I'm,
3 of you guys are on the same bill, that's going to be a
it's
fun
gonna be
show.
crazy. It's gonna be crazy. I'm such a fan of these bands, and I hope anyone who's coming to see the show, please come early. Come at doors, and please check out these 2 bands. They're amazing.
Yeah, how long are normally the sets for each band on those shows?
What was that? I'm sorry.
How long are the sets for each band usually at those kind of shows?
You
Like
know,
45 minutes or an hour or something.
that's if that's usual. Like, you know,
Headliner.
yeah.
Oh,
If you're a
okay. So
headliner for a set,
like
you'll play for about 45 to an hour. But in most situations where we've played, you know, it'll
It's
be an
30
evening
minutes.
of yeah, it'll be like an evening of bands, and you have 5 bands on the bill, and each band has 35 minutes to kind of lay it all out there. For this particular show, Alora is going to be playing about a half hour. Young Fiction will be playing about 35, and then we go on at 9, and I think our show will be wrapped somewhere around 10:30 at the
it's a
latest.
good night.
So it's gonna be great.
So you guys are going to be playing the whole album. It's going to be recorded. Let's talk about the album, Playing with Ghosts. Dylan, you want to tell us about the concept of this album?
Yeah, so during when we were writing this, um, it was during the pandemic in 2020, 2021 too, because we were still figuring out like recording sessions and different things like that. So a lot of the kind of emotion and um, idea of kind of like this isolation a little bit flowed into what we were making. Um, as far as the concept go, I mean the main idea would be from the darkness to the light in a way. You know, that's kind of what we were delivering. You know, you can hear it from the sound from the beginning of the album. Um, you have the piano track and everything, and then everything is just very raunchy and rough. And then somewhere in the middle, you kind of have almost like this intermission, a moment to yourself. And yeah, I mean, uh, we also wanted to give it for interpretation.
Yeah.
Zach, would you like to comment as far as like heavy concept?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we started the band, it was out of pure, and I think we talked about this last time we were on the show.
Mhm.
Like it was one of those things where, you know, we were both very creative people pre-pandemic, and you know, we had so many different things going on. Dylan was almost doing musical theater full time. You were always, you know, involved in the performing arts. I was a freelance performer, and we were used to having these lifestyles where we were always creatively moving, and then all of a sudden there was nothing for us to do, and we were locked in our homes for months and months. And we would come over within, respecting safety regulations, of course. Like, you know, we would get together just to spend time with someone, and we would just play music, and it became such a organic, like, it just felt so right to start making music together. And I've always been a lyricist, and Dylan speaks through the way he plays in a way that I could never fathom. So it was like a perfect yin and yang. And when we started writing the record, there was no real pre-existing idea of concept. We kind of just started writing, and what it became was a commentary on where the world was at the time. It, that like Dylan was saying, the theme of isolation is really big, and basically what the concept of the record is, and what the overall message,
The lore.
the lore of what the record's trying to represent is what happens in one's life when they allow all of the terrible things that we all experience on a day-to-day basis, so no matter how big or small. How far can that go, and how that affects the people around you? Like
It's a whole ripple effect.
it really is. Like when you allow the worst things that are happening in your life to completely define you, how does that affect you and those around you? And that's kind of because we were getting examples of this every day with what was going on in the world at the time. And being in that position where you can't really do anything about it either, and you kind of just have to sit and observe. That's what the whole record became. And Playing with Ghosts as a title is really just about, the ghosts and demons that we live with within ourselves. And we touch on the parallel of the paranormal as well, because that's just who we are. But
that's why you're here, and you're a junkie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that spook. I mean, Playing with Ghosts, that's a song that I love. It's one of my favorite songs, and I actually interpret it a lot differently. I interpret it through death and loss, and what it's like for one person to be on one side of heaven and the other person to be here, and just the depth of that loss. And a lot of the songs to me deal with that. Obituary that deals very deep with death and giving permission for your loved ones left behind to let go and to finally have peace. Like it's so beautiful, but it's so honest, but there's a lot of depth to it. I mean, you guys really, I think there's so much depth to lyrics. I honestly encourage everybody to listen to the album, not just because I love these guys and their music, but it's beautiful. I recently had a major loss in my life, and I was in the car and Obituary came up. I was in tears. Like I felt it. I felt all of it, and I connected to it in a way that I hadn't connected with it before that loss, but I heard every single word, and it really does reflect both sides of that reality. The people,
I really appreciate you saying
that. Where do we go? Let's get into that. I mean, there's so much that we can go on about life and death, and the lingering and the ripple effects of what's left behind, of the people that we have left and what they feel and their loss. Just the whole physical separation, I feel like you guys touch on.
Absolutely. There's to get, a little more on the personal side of it, I've never been someone who's really been afraid of much in my life, just personally. I don't really ever, I've yet to really find out what those things are that I'm afraid of. But the one thing that I know I've always been terrified of is the concept of death. I always have been. And particularly at that time when there was so much
surrounded by it.
Like every day I just watched a death toll number climb, and it put so much into perspective. And when we realized that the record was going to be conceptual, I knew I wanted to start the album with an introductory piece. I wanted it to almost have that feeling when you go to the theater or when you watch an old time musical film, and there was always like an overture at the beginning of the film. I wanted it to kind of have that feel to it. And Peter Hurston created a really brilliant piano intro to the record, and it's beautiful. It's called Seance, and it's that invitation in. And Where Do We Go is a song that is a commentary about this. We meet this character that we spend the record with, and it's about his confusion of being able to. It's about his confusion of his understanding of what the afterlife is. When we stay, where do others go? What is the in people? We can get
what
a lot
comes
deeper
after
into that.
All of this. Like, there's here. Where the hell did they go? That physical separation, that struggle.
Absolutely. And you know, some of the following songs have a lot of commentary about this person's world, their relationship, you know, life, love life, work life, familial relationships, and then it does become the latter half of the record is definitely a commentary on loss, and it's a commentary um, on how one goes through that process. I lost my father while we were making the record, and Playing with Ghosts was a song. It's so crazy. It was the title track, and I knew it was the title track, but it was the one that took the absolute hardest to, like, longest time to write. And I think it went through 3 different versions of what we were trying to do at the time. And then I lost my father, and 2 days later I wrote the song. And it was, you know, the whole idea for that particular song was, what, you know, whenever we lose someone, we always wish we could have that one last conversation. Like, what did I not say that I should have? You know, even sometimes our last conversations aren't great, you know, like, but if we could write our own ending, what would that ending look like?
It's
And
definitely death from Death's perspective.
yeah,
I mean, the lyrics themselves, like, you know, I'm dancing with angels and
yeah,
you're playing with ghosts. It's
yeah,
both sides wanting to connect, but they're
yeah,
just physically separated. How does that work? You know?
yeah. It's it was a rough time. You know what I mean? Like, it was one of those things, and we wanted to honestly be able to, you know, we wanted to honestly be able to deliver that, and create something that people could also interpret in their own way and create their own lore to. And that's my favorite thing to talk about with people. You know, when people are like, you know, what is, you know, people love asking me what songs are about, and I'm like, well, what does it mean to you when you hear the words, and what, you know, what story do you create in your head? And I love that we've been
You
able
guys
to.
did a hell of a job delivering, you know, those conceptions to us, and they are available to be interpreted in different ways that I can see. I know I have my own way of connecting. Like I said, I listened to it a million times, and all of a sudden I have a loss and it hit me completely different. And I'm just like boohooing, driving in the car, like, damn it, Zach.
You're a true emo. You're a true emo, Amy.
I know. It's a problem. So speaking of this album, let's go into talking about you guys working on the next album. Tell us about it. Is it a follow-up? Is it its own entity? Hi, Jamie. For those who don't know Jamie, that's Jamie Hill, the mom from the movie Skinamarink. She's
Hey,
a
Jimmy.
supporter of ours. But
We
you
love
know,
you, Jamie.
is it
Can
a
I just
follow-up?
interject
Is
and
it
say that
somehow connected? Like, let's get into that. What are you guys wanting to put out there next in the world for us to tap into?
So a lot of the theming, I feel like, does kind of tie into Playing with Ghosts just a little bit, but now we're kind of expanding to where it's just simple. It's almost kind of simply going to be about letting go. But throughout the album, you are going through this experience of I don't know how to explain it. I mean,
the best way I've learned how to kind of briefly summarize it, and this is, and keep in mind we're still in the writing phase, but I'm very, very enthusiastic about this, because I wanted to create the goal in mind was, I want to create something that, whether you are necessarily of the emo genre or not, I wanted to create something that conceptually every single person could find themselves in. So the brief, um, the clip notes version of where what we're getting at is, every single person in their life at one point in time, sometimes frequent, sometimes not, has had the experience of waking up in the middle of the night, not being able to sleep, and you're going through it for whatever that thing may be, and, you know, you get up, it's 3 a.m, and you are alone, and and you are alone with your thoughts, and you spiral, and that spiral can be as good or bad as you could possibly imagine. This record is a audible expression of what that spiral is.
Wow.
Rick
We're
could write
throwing
a
you in it.
He's up all hours of the night.
There you go.
I am.
It's about
I don't know if I've
Always
ever told this story, but I was working with a band called the Funeral Daisies, and they were like a punk rock band, and they made a song for one of my short films. And we talked actually about writing a song together for another film, but they said that I would have to get on there and sing with them and stuff like that. So I figured, okay, a few beers, I could definitely do that. But they also wanted me to write a song for them. So I was coming up with this whole concept about this guy who was turning into a zombie, and he was trapped in his room with his girlfriend, and he was doing everything he could without trying to eat her. So, I mean, I even had a great
Are
title
you
for
sure
it.
this isn't a real life story, right?
No. I had a great title for it too. It's called "She Tastes Like Chicken," and I thought
Yes,
that
you brought that up last time that we did
I
this.
thought I
remember
did.
that.
Yes. I still want to make that song one day.
It's all new to me, guys.
I want to hear that song.
I do too. I have to find the
throw
right
everybody
album.
in the studio together. And speaking of studio, we kind of talked about this backstage. You guys really need to start pimping yourselves as doing, songs for films. There's so many opportunities out here just in indie horror. Indie horror films are always looking for original songs to contribute to their films. And it's a way to connect the worlds. It's a way to bring filmmakers and musicians together. And like you were talking about, the beginning of the album with Seance and how it's so beautiful. It ends with the album begins with the piano, it ends with the piano, and there's nothing better than a good score to a film or just a hell of a song. So I know Rick and I personally want to hire you guys for a project that we're going to be producing God knows when, because we have 5,000 things on our plate, but we are currently in the writing process. But once that happens, we definitely want to bring you guys on board for that. But anybody out there in the film industry with indie film, you need some good artists. Hit you guys up, because it's some good stuff you guys are putting out there.
Yeah, no, I love me
you.
a good movie song, man. New Perspective from Jennifer's Body.
Yeah,
crazy.
There you go.
Molly
That's
Zombie.
a dream. It is a dream. Also, can I just say, because she had popped in here earlier, Skinamarink is one of my favorite films that I've ever seen.
There you go.
You hear that, Jamie?
It was one of the most wonderfully traumatic movie theater experiences of my entire life.
Really?
Because Dylan saw it. Because Dylan saw it, and he was like, "Zach, have you heard of this movie called Skinamarink?" And I was like, I mean, like, I've heard a couple things. And he's like, "Watch this movie."
I'm like,
and I
you
was
have
like,
got to see it.
Very
like, okay.
experimental, very different, but it works.
So I found it was a screening at 11:30 at night, and I was the only person in the theater. And I was like, all right, here we go. And I've never been so uncomfortable and so, like, in it at the same time. It was amazing.
You kept waiting for something else to happen, but you're like, oh no, we're stuck in this.
You just have to
people. Like, we're experiencing all of this.
It was just so smart. It was so smart. And I love a movie that fucks with your mind, and your mind is what's doing it. You know what I mean? It was so good.
And they had an interesting score in this house.
Over
and over
and over again.
It was almost like hypnotizing. They were doing something to you. It's like just it was so repetitive. The sounds, the visuals, everything. It felt like hypnosis the whole time. So
I recently saw Terrifier 3 as well, and Ice Nine.
Oh, did you?
Incredible.
I love Ice Nine Kills.
Oh my gosh.
A work of art, their new single.
Yeah, it's so good. And if any of you guys haven't seen Terrifier 3 yet,
I have not.
So good.
Just no spoilers for the audience.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've wanted to go see it. I've had a couple of opportunities
out here. If you guys hear anything, leave it to my neighborhood to be shooting off fireworks randomly.
But I've had a couple of opportunities to go see it, and I decided against it because I've already ordered it on Blu-ray. So I figured I'm just going to wait for it. I want to pay, for it twice, basically. So, but I've been trying to avoid spoilers and stuff. But I've been hearing the things about people throwing up in the first few minutes and stuff like that. It's been crazy.
I'm only gonna repeat what everyone else has already said. The first 5 minutes is out of this world.
Wow.
The thing with Damien Leone is every film you watch, you're like, there's no way he's gonna top that. Like, that was so cruel and so just gory and disgusting. I mean, it's awesome to watch. It's fun, but like they be there with the practical special effects. You're like, oh my God, they just did that. And you're like, they're not going to top that. And then Terrifier 2 comes out and you're like, oh shit, they did it. Like they topped it. So then you go into Terrifier 3 and you're like, yeah, Damien's probably going to figure out a way to top it. And it sounds like he did. And speaking of score, our good friend Paul Wiley also scored that film, Terrifier 1, 2, and 3. Another incredible artist. It just goes back to the musicians of the movie world. We need you guys. So keep making music and keep making, these films even more beautiful and creative than they are.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So what are your horror inspirations? Do you guys go for like more of the mainstream horror, or you really like more of the experimental? Because I know Zach, you already said about your love for Skinamarink and stuff like that. And
let's say we're getting into it now. Let's go.
Absolutely, let's go. So give me some of your biggest inspirations as far as horror films go.
Man, where do I start?
It's hard to pick.
It really is.
I
am such a fan of. I look at them as different things. Like my favorite horror film of all time will always be the director's cut, the version you've never seen, cut of The Exorcist. That will always be 10 out of 10 for me. The Shining as well is of course up there. I'm a really big fan of the more recent Ari Aster work as well. Hereditary blew my mind.
Yes.
I thought Midsummer was brilliant.
You got to see it, Rick.
I haven't seen Beau is Afraid yet. I haven't seen that one, so I do need to see that. But I grew up watching the OG Boris Karloff Frankenstein. And just the true American classics, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's always been my bag for sure.
Yeah, to me, it's like whenever you hear people talk about what's the scariest movie of all time, to me, it's like, how can it not be The Exorcist? Because at the end of the day, that movie was made back in the 70s, like 73 or whatever. It scared so many people.
Speaking of Exorcist, our good friend Bill Slevin is here, our paranormal friend, our paranormal expert.
Oh, awesome.
But you've got people to this day that won't watch it. Like my mom, she said she'll never watch it again. She refused to put it on. My sister, she said when she saw it in the drive-in, that point where her eyes turned white, she ran out of the car screaming. And to this day, she's tried to watch it a few times and gets to that point and can't watch it anymore. And that's from a movie back in the 70s. So to me, the longevity has got to mean that's got to be one of the scariest of all time.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's also the films that touch on like real life.
Right.
Like eliminate the paranormal, but stuff that's like about horrific things that happen. I recently this year watched a film called The Poughkeepsie Tapes, which I had never seen.
I've heard of that. I haven't seen that one though.
Is that indie?
Yes.
Okay, send me that guy.
It is. I never want to watch it again, but it is horrifying. I'll put it that way. Yeah.
I think it's on Shudder.
Yeah, it's a good serial killer. It's a good serial killer horror, but it's
okay. Definitely send me that. I want to watch
brilliant.
it.
It's brilliant.
How about you, Dylan? What's your what do you lean towards?
Well, before I get into that, Rick, you still haven't seen Midsummer?
Well, is that the one with the girl sticking her head out the window?
No.
No.
Is that Hereditary?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that one. Midsummer is one where they go to that camp or whatever.
Yeah.
I saw the
watermelon head smashing.
Yeah. Well, I saw the beginning of that when they got to that encampment and they were getting them situated or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen any more because I forget. Somebody had called me and I got on the phone and didn't get to finish it.
It was probably me.
Probably
Amy.
Yeah, so blame it on Amy that I haven't seen it, but I will.
Wow. You're doing great, Amy.
Let's see. I like movies that love to express their own like core and niche. A good example of this would be like the Saw movies. They're very like warehouse, industrial, heavy symphonic, score heavy, but also like it's not so much as being kidnapped. It's it's the machines. Machines are terrifying, you know, and I think it does that very well too. I love Jaws, you know.
Well, now you're speaking Rick's love language.
I love Jaws. Oh my gosh, I've watched that movie countless times. Um, American Werewolf in London. Oh my gosh.
Another love song. To
You know this,
ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going to adopt him.
yeah, just it. I remember watching. I watched this new one. Well, it's not really new. I think it came out like 2019 maybe, but it's called Infinity Pool.
Yep.
And it was a freaky one.
It was a freaky movie.
Oh my gosh. It was
Mia Goth.
Oh, yeah. She knows how to deliver.
It was just never over.
It was would keep going. Over. Like, when is this vacation gonna end? Oh, we got another act.
Vacation?
Okay.
Yeah,
have you guys seen the
werewolf movies? Weren't you in one, Dylan?
Oh.
For those of you who don't know, Dylan is also an indie horror actor.
Yes, I am.
You know, I saw this one movie recently that had Dylan and Triago and Amy Wilson in it together.
But it wasn't a werewolf movie.
It was not a werewolf film. Yeah.
No. I think I know what movie you're talking about.
Yeah, it was great.
Font. We've got The Beast Comes at Midnight.
Beast Comes at Midnight.
Upcoming indie horror slasher, The Inn. What else have you been dragged into?
Oh man,
Nightmare Collection 3.
Nightmare Collection 3.
I can't wait till everybody sees your scene.
Well, Brandon, that's actually one of my
Brandon.
films. Brandon Yates bringing up Candyman. If you've watched any of the previous shows, I talk about Candyman. That to me is a horrifying film.
Are you talking about the original or the remake?
The original
Okay.
came out when I was pretty young. My dad really didn't have any rules. If he was watching it, I was allowed to watch it. He would just do cover your eyes, sweetheart. But Joseph King, so many great films being mentioned. Yeah, definitely. He's a big horror buff as well, so he could give us some really good recommendations. But Candyman for me was one of those films I watched with my dad. For some reason, why I was allowed to watch horror films at such a young age is because I liked it. They scared me, but not in the way where like I couldn't sleep. It scared me in a way where it was fun.
Yeah.
So my dad would just let me watch the films with him. But Candyman was one of those. I can remember like going in the bathroom and doing the whole Candyman thing.
Did you?
Yeah.
Stuff? Wow.
Yeah, me and my brother did. We're sick. I know, but because it was fun to me. My dad did a good job of, this isn't real. This is a movie. These are actors. This is so-and-so's name. And then I find myself doing that as well. Like, I'll tell my kids, like, this is movie magic. This is Halloween fun. These are actors. There's the director. This person does that. When you break it down that way, it's not so scary.
Right.
It's interesting and fun. But Brandon, I agree with you. Candyman scared the hell out of me as a kid, but in a really fun way.
Well, I love a lot of the indies, especially like we were getting ready to mention about A24. They do so many good movies. Like if you've seen I don't know if it's really new, but it's fairly recent. But Talk to Me.
I was just about to bring up Talk to Me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So good. It was so great.
How was your bonfire night? Who had a bonfire?
Who had a bonfire?
I didn't have a bonfire. Did you have a bonfire?
Me.
All right, we definitely need to
bonfire night.
Definitely
we
need to
gotta
have.
find out about this bonfire that we missed.
I know.
Bonfire night.
I mean, there's a bunch of trees still laying around on my street from the hurricane. We can have
easily have a
at my
bonfire.
House.
Yes.
Yeah.
Publix has the nerve to be selling chopped wood. I'm like, I just got to walk out my front door.
Make the bank where you can.
Seriously.
Absolutely. So, Amy, what is your? Obviously, you said Candyman, but do you have any indie favorite? Not the mainstream.
Indie favorite.
I like indies because they can just do whatever they want.
This is probably a film that most people don't know, and they did do a remake of it, but the original one, I watched it over and over again with my best friend. It was called When a Stranger Calls.
Oh yeah, let me tell you about this real quick though. When a Stranger Calls, I remember seeing that movie when it was in the drive-in because my parents used to bring me to the drive-in so that we could sit in the front and they could be in the back making out and stuff like that. And I remember seeing it there. But I swear to you, that movie, I only remember it up to the part where she calls the cops and the cops tell her to get out of the house. The call's coming from within the house. I don't remember whatever happened after that.
This
That part-
okay, so this intruder, this killer, he wore all black, covered his face. He was a ventriloquist. He could throw his voice across the room.
I didn't know any of that.
That's what screwed the girl up, because she thought that she, she's obviously trying to get away from him. The whole, horror movie, run upstairs and run in that room and like just go out the freaking front door and be done with it already. But you can't do that. And she thinks she's getting away from him, but he's throwing his voice. He's making it sound like it's coming from a different part of the room, and he could hide in the wall. Like he was able to be a chameleon. He was just a sick fuck, but it was so scary. It horrified me because, going back to what Zach said, like things that could actually be real, like this is somebody in your home.
Yeah.
And you got nowhere to go, and you're by yourself, like your baby's, and that's why I never wanted to babysit it. Number one, I don't want to watch somebody else's kids. And number two, there just ain't enough money for it. And number two, that movie horrified me. I never, Black Christmas, there you go. Another one. Mm-hmm. But that to me was horrifying because I just felt like it could really actually happen, and I want to know part of it.
Well, speaking of the Kings here, Joseph and Mary, who just joined in, and they're huge horror fans, I introduced them to some of the foreign horror films. Like there's one called I Saw the Devil. If you haven't seen that, they've talked about making an American remake of that movie, but I can't see them ever doing that because those Korean films like that or whatever, they take things to a different level that I don't think they would ever cross.
Yeah.
That movie did that. So if you get a chance, I would highly recommend watching. That movie made me uncomfortable.
I recently watched the original. I think it's a Japanese horror film, Dark Water.
I've heard of that one.
It's so good. Also a really good one is I recently watched the original The Ring.
Bring You.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, they made over in Japan, they did a Japanese remake / interpretation of Paranormal Activity.
Ew.
That is hands down a million times scarier than the American version. It is
Really?
what they're able to.
Movies are terrifying.
I don't know how they did it, but it was so great.
Because
Rick is amazing.
I know. I told them about that, and they finally watched it. Yeah, it'll never be the same. That was good
Audition
stuff.
is phenomenal.
It really is.
I haven't seen it. I'm over here writing these things down.
Yep.
I saw the Devil.
Audition and I Saw the Devil. You'll never be the same, Amy.
Dylan's never seen American Psycho.
What?
Which is in my top
Yes, you
10.
have. You have seen American Psycho.
We just got rid of Dylan.
You got
All right?
embarrassed. You
We just
jumped
got rid of
off.
Dylan. Dylan's gone timeout. Okay, until he watches. Just kidding.
American Psycho is in my top 10 favorite films of all time. It is so me coded. It's not even funny.
I will get myself to it.
There you go. Write it down, Dylan, like Amy's doing. Go ahead.
I
Alright,
swear
alright.
I made you watch that before. We talked about that movie.
I know Dylan will become obsessed with it once he sees it.
I wouldn't doubt it.
You like Phil Collins?
I
Christian
just
Bale was
hope
amazing.
they don't try to remake it. It's gonna piss me off. And I feel like the only way they can remake it is if they just do. I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. It's just one of the most movies. Don't touch it.
See, to me though, that's the thing, is that I have so many friends that absolutely cannot stand even the idea of a remake or a reboot or anything like that, because they said it takes away from the original. And to me, it's like, it doesn't take away from the original. The way I look at it is that if you make a remake or a reboot, it just absolutely sucks. Okay, it makes the original look that much better. If it's good, then it adds to the mystique of the original as well. I mean, I
want to do a female version of American Psycho. Rick knows this. That's the only way that I'll consider ever doing it, watching it, touching it, is there's a female version of it, because that's what this country needs right now.
I thought there was a female version.
Well, they did American Psycho 2 with Mila Kunis, but that didn't.
It didn't work. That one doesn't.
That never happened.
It
But
doesn't.
this
That's what I'm saying. It has to be different. There has to be different elements to it.
We need a new
There has
female sexy horror icon that's just wrecking havoc. But I do think what Rick said about remakes is so. I stand by that, because like this is a hot take. A lot of people don't agree with this. I am a big fan of the 2010-11 remake of Nightmare on Elm Street that Samuel Bayer did. I thought that was so interesting to me. It was a completely new, fresh twist on how to tell that story, and I never discredit a good remake, because at the end of the day, like you said, it can either add to the original or it can make the original look just as better.
Keyword good.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just to give you an example, it's not a horror movie, but like Mad Max Fury Road. Okay,
absolutely.
That was a brilliant movie. But whenever I argue with friends of mine, I'll say, look at that, because I tried for the life of me to get my daughter to watch the original Mad Max films. She didn't want to have anything to do with them. Oh, that's old. I don't want to see that kind of stuff. But then she saw with Tom Hardy Fury Road, and then she's like, now I want to go see the other one. So because of that, she went back and watched the original. Same thing like my son. My son was a big fan of I Am Legend with Will Smith. Okay, he loved that movie. And I said, well, that's a remake from the Omega Man and from another one before that. After he saw that, he loved it so much, he had me show him the original. So they never would have watched the originals if it wasn't for remakes. So to me, that's a great argument right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
A way a legacy can live on.
Absolutely. So now, are you? Because this is something that I've talked about for and asked about for a lot. I'm really, and Amy and I, we've had this conversation before, that we would love to try and create a film that's going to create some kind of a legacy character, whether it be like a Scream, I'm saying, something that would carry on and do more. So we're really trying to do that. But to do that and to do that well, to me, you can't just do a rehash of Friday the 13th or Halloween or Scream. You got to bring something new to the table. That way you can introduce this character and have it in a new and unique situation, a new and unique process, or something that people can really get into, and then creating this character that could become iconic, which is something that I am really, really hard pressed to do. Is that something that you guys really enjoy, or do you just like any individual movie or whatever it is, as long as it's got a great story, it hits you the right way, or do you enjoy the opportunity of getting into a particular iconic character and following that character?
Absolutely. I mean, look at Art the Clown right now. Like look at what's happened with that. Like, that's so. I'm so happy that there's a fresh face now. I'm so like I'm waiting for more. So yes, please, more.
All right, there you go.
I can see it going both ways. Everybody loves a good slasher horror film with a new icon, a fresh take on how to kill somebody. That's always just fun to watch, let's be honest. But I also really love what A24 does with, yes, Brandon Yates.
Yeah.
And we got the same and Greasy Boys did a fantastic job of creating that character, that mask, that icon. We cannot wait for you guys to see that. So he's right on the money with that. But I also love a good psychological horror. Like, it's a whole trick of the mind and being screwed with. And it's one thing to be scared or jump scared or terrified because, like, someone's chasing you with a knife or a chainsaw, whatever. It's another thing to just not know what the hell is going on and be absolutely terrified for like, an hour and a half to 2 hours. And you think you've got it all figured out, but you don't, you're just screwed up as everybody else. But I like a good trick of the mind when it comes to well. One of the sides you can do, you have a good slasher, you also have a good mind bend.
One of the best versions of what you're talking about that I've ever seen is this film with Ryan Reynolds called Buried. Have you ever seen it?
Yes, I've told Amy about that one before.
Yes, no, I've seen it. It's terrifying.
Horrifying, but it was so good. You know what I mean?
Real life, it can actually happen.
As soon as you think you get what the situation is, it completely takes a turn, and it's so smart. I love it.
Yeah, I mentioned that one to my friend the Kings because they were looking for recommendations, and I said what also is so brilliant about that movie is that's a feature-length movie, and the entire movie takes place in this coffin. There's nothing else, and they managed to keep your attention and continue on to where you were never thinking like, okay, is anything else going to happen? It was amazing, and the ending just.
There's nothing more terrifying to me than the thought of being buried in a freaking coffin. Like, I'm as claustrophobic as it gets. Like, I don't even like somebody putting their hand in my face or touching my wrist. Like, I freak out. But the thought of that, I would probably die just of a heart attack if I wouldn't have made it.
Yep, I agree. I listen to these old radio shows. You can still listen to them on YouTube. Back when I was a kid, I used to go to sleep to these old horror radio shows, and I remember specifically the one that probably made me feel the most uncomfortable was one where they were at a carnival, and this guy, that Barker or whatever it is, called up the guy and the girl from the audience, and they made a bet they were going to give him $10,000 if the guy would allow him to bury him 10 feet in the ground. They had a big pole, I guess, coming up on the ground where he could breathe and they could talk to him and stuff like that. And then after they let everybody go, they left the guy down there, and the Barker came over to him and was telling him in the hole that we just wanted to say goodbye to you, and that's it. And I forget how it ended, but you put yourself in that guy's spot in that box 10 feet underground, and it's like I just would have lost my mind. I can't imagine ever doing something like that or being in that situation.
Does that happen in Kill Bill? Where else has that happened before?
Kill Bill.
Oh, Kill Bill, yeah.
That's where it was. It's just completely horrifying.
It was horrifying, but in Kill Bill, you just the way Quentin did it and everything, you just knew she was going to get out of there. She was going to do something. There wasn't that dread that you had that she's in trouble.
I felt it still. No, I still felt it. It's just one of those things for me. It's one of those, I don't like it.
Well, let me ask you this then. That's something I was going to ask earlier and I kind of forgot about. With regards to not necessarily horror movies, but just yourselves, individually, I'd like to know. Let's start with Amy first. What is your biggest fear?
Oh, that is loaded. Like biggest fear.
Biggest fear.
To like how I might die.
I wouldn't say how you might die, but just something that just bothers the hell out of you, that just scares you, that you can't even really think about without it bothering you. Getting the cold sweats or whatever.
Not being able to see, like complete pitch black. Like, for example, with the hurricane we just had, obviously we had lights, we were prepared and all that. But when you turn those lights off at night, there is no street light. There's no pool light. There's no, there's no light. You look outside, it is darkness. If there are clouds covering the sky, you cannot see. So like I would be in my room, I could not see my hand in front of me. It was so dark. If I didn't have on my phone, if I didn't have a flashlight, like I remember one time I zonked out finally, and I didn't know where my phone was, and I couldn't say, "Hey Alexa, turn on my light." I didn't know where my flashlight was, and I had to get up and pitch black. And I just had to feel around where I was in my bedroom, and it freaked me out. And I did that until I got to the main area of the house where I knew there was more flashlights and stuff, but it was pitch black. I don't like not being able to see. It's horrifying to me.
All right. Zach, what's your biggest fear?
I mean, I think I touched on mine earlier, but I think like the concept of death is just horrifying to me.
You did kind of.
Yeah.
That's a much more morbid answer compared to what
but it's a legit answer. Absolutely.
No, that's as human as it gets.
Where in my journey as a human being, I don't know what I think or feel yet when it comes to that. So it's just such a, recently here in the Orlando performer community, we lost somebody, and it just went into perspective. It could happen anytime. Right. For any freak reason, and
it's a hard concept to process because
it really is
no definite answer. It's just what do you believe? What do you think? Yeah. It's such an individual thought and belief to an extent. So yeah.
But on top of that, I have a big phobia of needles. That's just
no
something.
Tattoos for Zach. No
my daughter has a huge phobia of needles. I mean, any little, anything she has to get or whatever it is, she breaks cold sweats and she cannot handle it.
Yeah, that's it for me.
How about you, Dylan? Nothing.
I don't know about that.
I wish.
She doesn't like haunted house.
Oh, really?
No. Wasps. I cannot do wasps. Wasps.
Oh, okay. Wasps.
I can't walk by a hive. Like I'll do it, but like it's Like one time,
You
as
know
a
how
kid,
they have these meth gator movies and shark movies? We're gonna have to make one and make Dylan be the star of it with Wasp.
my God.
Killer
oh my god,
No,
Can
forget
I
it.
play a
I would
wasp?
be
Can I play like a huge
Death,
wasp?
death by Wasp.
Death
sting.
by Wasp.
We get Kevin Beganovic to come in and do the
Yeah.
casual sex. You're pulling up.
Speaking of which, that movie Candyman, I remember hearing a story
Yeah.
from Tony
Yes.
Todd, where he said he had made some kind of a bet or whatever with the director or whatever, because they had that scene where he was covered with the bees, and he got paid like $100 or whatever it is every time he got stung. And I think he said he
Speaking
got
of
like
the
nearly
wonderful
$1,000
Tony
or whatever.
Todd, he is featured in our next issue of Indie Horror Junkie magazine in the movie Stream.
Not the
Everybody pick
Wasp.
it
There
up,
you
get
go.
your issue. There
Brandon's
you go.
got your back. For
Thank
me, my biggest fear has always been heights. I've always had a big problem with heights. And there's a movie that came out that I bought, and I have not been able to finish it because it's bothered the hell out of me. Even though I know it's CGI,
You
it
sent me a
looks so
clip of it, and I immediately turned it off.
the movie The Fall, where those
Yes,
girls climb that tower. Oh
Yeah.
my God, that bothered the
it
hell
was.
out of me.
I love me some
Nope.
heights.
Well,
Okay,
I'll forward it to you. 'Cause
Yeah, we'll forward it to you because I ain't gonna watch it.
I want to watch that shit in 3D.
Yeah.
When I was younger, it didn't bother me, but as I get older, like if I even get to the edge of a balcony that's high up, I think
Thanks,
it was
Brandon.
like, yeah. If I even get to the edge of a balcony, like
Yeah.
my stomach bottoms out, like it
Yeah.
drops. Like I don't like
love
it.
And believe it or not, we're already at 8:56. This time has flown by. I can't believe it. I'm so sorry. So before we get ready to close out the show, give us any last words. Where can you tell people to find you? Obviously. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot all about
Linktree,
it.
baby.
Let me get and bring that up right now. There you go.
Also,
That's
in
the link.
addition to the Linktree, which has Sat Academies, social medias, where you can get their merch, upcoming shows, and where you can buy tickets for the Conduit show on November the 10th, where you can find their songs on Spotify, iTunes. I want to make sure you guys talk about the dress code for the 10th. You guys have a little
Yes.
fun.
Oh yeah.
That's good.
For everybody coming to the show at the Conduit on November 10th, we have ourselves a little dress code. It's going to be black and white academia suit and tie. Come with there
Similar
you go.
to this guy right here.
There you go.
There you
Dylan's
go.
ready.
So
And
not
yeah,
required, but a fun theme. We just want everybody to deck out, have a great show, celebrate the first headliner in your hometown, you guys. Congratulations. It's
Congratulations.
been a long time coming. Good
Thank
for
you.
you.
so much. This is awesome. We're really stoked.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys very much for joining us. But like we did before, if you guys, I'll go ahead and put you in the green room real quick so we can get and close out the show. But don't hang up. Let's get and close out the show, and then we'll come back and we'll chat for a few minutes. Okay?
Thank you, everybody. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks, guys.
Hold on, guys. All right.
I have a whole list of scary movies I have to watch now, in addition to the film festival movies that I need to get caught up
We're going
in.
to talk about the film festival. Yes.
And it's not too late, so get your submissions in.
That's right. Submissions, as a matter of fact, the submissions close at the end of this month. The final or the last deadline was the end of October, and the final deadline is the end of November. So if you've got a short film or a feature film, we've already got some amazing films that have been submitted. Send them to us. All the films that are accepted and will be played in the festival will also get feedback from our judges. So that way, because to me, that's one of the big things as a filmmaker.
Absolutely.
I just want to hear what you thought. Some, good or bad. I'd like to know what you thought about my movie. If it wasn't that great or whatever, that way you let me know.
There's
what
a lot
I'm
of screeners. It's the first time. Hey, Peter. It's the first time that these movies are, making their rounds in the film festival circuit. So these writers and directors and actors, they all want a little bit of feedback. So that's a great concept that we're able to provide through the film festival.
Yeah.
But check out Sat Academy, come out to the show. It's gonna be a great time. You guys don't want to miss it. The Conduit's a lot of fun. They put on a hell of a performance. So come see them. I'll be there. Let's have ourselves a good time.
All right. Well, thank you once again, everybody, for joining us, and thank you for the feedback and the comments. And any final comments you want to say there, Amy, or are we good to go?
See you next Wednesday.
All right. See you.